we'll keep an eye on the exit sign, and when that is illuminated and they pull off, we see what's going on. We'll get back into this hearing, very important hearing, that has to do with whether or not the prosecution mishandled evidence. There's going to be witness testimony. But in the meantime, let's take you back into this morning's portion of this hearing. This is when the defense attorney made the actual motion to dismiss. Let's go.
Let us argue your motion.
Your Honor, just very briefly, first, given the nature of this, can Corporal Hancock step out of the room?
Oh, yes.
That's okay.
I'm intending to take testimony from her. She can step out before I begin.
Sure.
Sure.
One thing that I just want to alert the court to, and I'm going to bring in a photograph that somebody sent to my office, and I'll come up to the lectern if that's okay.
Yes, I would think you would argue at the lectern.
Well, this is just a side issue that I've asked Mr. Nickes to address the court on the motion.
Okay,
this is
fine.
just a quick, and if it takes out of our time, it does. But I get many sort of inbound emails that I don't obviously read everyone or take everyone seriously, but I got one last night that indicated that the cameras are catching Miss Morrissey signaling witnesses while they're on the witness stand. And you know, I really
Did you look to see if that was true?
I was sent a photograph that concerned me, and I felt obligated, and like I said to the court, I try to not make these issues. This is a high-pressure case. I've been in many. There have been more issues in this case than I have ever seen in all of those cases combined. And so I'm sort of at a loss, but to bring it to the court's attention. So I've asked them to print me the photograph that was sent to me. I can't just continue to give the benefit of the doubt on every single thing that's occurred in this case. I just can't. And so I'll be turning that into the court. And I would just say, you know, at every turn of this, right, it's from the original case. It was, you know, I understand and very much respect the court's rulings on everything, frankly. You know, and the grand jury, you know, it survived, you know, and there's no remedy. I get that. And, you know, they destroyed the gun and we have that hearing and there's no remedy, and I get that. And it's just at a certain point, and the Brady disclosure.
I did give you a remedy, but okay.
Well,
I didn't give you the remedy you wanted, but yes.
Fair enough. But one might say not a remedy given all of the circumstances that has a meaningful impact at this trial. And so, and then we had the Brady disclosures, and I could keep going, and I'm not going to because we've limited time. But there's just never been any. It's just, I don't know how much of it can happen with it.
Okay, let's do this. Where's the picture?
I'm having somebody print it.
Okay, all right. I am aware of what you're saying, but we are. Look, first I have to see the picture. Okay. Now let's go to the arguments of this.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and then you can, you know, show me what you're talking about. And I did get it, so thank you.
You're welcome, Your Honor. Since we did submit the written briefing, I will try to be brief, but I think it'd be helpful to build out some of the facts so Your Honor has the chronology of how this happened and has the factual pieces to understand the severity of what's happened.
Okay.
So on November 1st, 2021, shortly after the Rust incident, Seth Kenny's on...
Just one moment. I need Faith to get me my notebook.
Of course.
My notebook. I brought it up yesterday. Might even be in my computer bag. Okay, I'm going to go ahead. I'll take notes on this. All right, go ahead.
May I proceed, Your Honor?
Yes, I'm sorry.
Thank you. So November 1st, 2021, Seth Kenny is on a phone call with Corporal Hancock. At that point, we've heard about Seth Kenny's involvement in this, his effort to pry into what's going on with the prop card and the bullets. And so on that phone call, he's telling Corporal Hancock, then Detective Hancock, that he believes he knows where the live bullet came from. He dials in a guy named Teskey, who we heard about yesterday in testimony. Teskey gets on the line and Seth says, "Tell Detective Hancock what you know." And he says, well, Fel Reed dropped off a batch of live ammunition at my business because I have a safer place to store it. And after that, Fel shows up, grabs some of the live ammunition and leaves some behind. And that's what I know. And Seth says, well, that could be from the same batch that killed Halyna Hutchins. Could be a match. He says, and it's Thel Reed and it's Hannah Gutierrez-Reed. That's the one who's responsible here, pushing it off on Gutierrez-Reed as the source of the live ammunition, just as the state has done in this case. He says, thank you very much. He gets off the phone. Thel says, Teskey says, I'll take a picture. I'm not in front of my computer, not in front of my ammunition. I'll send it in an hour. He sends a picture of 4 bullets. Ms. Morrissey is going to hold that up to you and say, these are the 4 bullets you knew about this. That was from 2021. Detective Hancock does not preserve the other live ammunition that's at Teskey's property, even though he told her this could be from the live ammunition batch that matches the bullet that killed Halyna Hutchins. 2 years later, November 2nd, 2023, there's a PTI of Teskey. Ms. Morrissey's asking questions, and she starts probing further into the live ammunition that Teskey had previously said was given to him by Thel Reed. And she says, do you still have some of that ammunition? He says, well, some of it, but I've been out shooting it over the last 2 years because Detective Hancock did not preserve it over that time period. Ms. Morrissey probes further. Where'd it come from? Tell me your story. He says, well, Thel dropped it off. He then picked some up, and he went with Seth Kenney to the 1883 Yellowstone movie, where he was teaching people how to shoot with that live ammunition. He then went to another movie with Seth Kenney, teaching people how to shoot with that live ammunition. And Seth Kenney then took a green ammo can with that live ammunition in it and brought it home with him. He says that could be the live ammunition from that green ammo can that killed Halyna Hutchins. Ms. Morrissey says, I want you to preserve that. And do you think there's any evidence that this was sabotage? And he says, well, actually, Seth Kenney called me while Rust was shooting, telling me he wanted to get Hannah Gutierrez-Reed fired. But he didn't know how to do it because he was concerned about upsetting Thel Reed, significant armor in the business, as Your Honor knows. And so he says, I don't have evidence that there was sabotage, but that's what I know, and I still have this ammunition. As we know, Sarah Zachary, the one who threw the live bullets away, or bullets away, we don't know, live or not, threw bullets away after the incident on Rust, admitted that. Was on set, texting with Seth Kenney, angry with Hannah, on the license, the ATF report for the Pieta that was involved in this accident. She was on set. They were close, we know that. And so Ms. Morrissey says, you hold on to that evidence and I'll come get it, in essence. She never does. November 2023. Fast forward to March 6, 2024. The end of Hannah Gutierrez-Reed's trial. Teskey's in Santa Fe, sees what happens, shows up at the sheriff's office, as we heard from Ms. Popple, and delivers that live ammunition that Hancock had not preserved, that Ms. Morrissey had not collected, that he believed could be from the same batch, from that same green ammo can.
Okay, so now you know the crux of the defense concern and their motion to dismiss. I feel like I stumbled into the Hannah Gutierrez-Reed trial because this really has a lot to do with her, maybe not so much Alec Baldwin. Luckily, here to help us sort this out on the ground in Santa Fe is Anjanette Levy. I'm always glad to make her work as hard as possible. Anjanette, thank you. I see you have a special guest. Take it away.
Yes. I'm here, Michael, with John Day. He's a Santa Fe defense attorney. Thanks so much, John, for coming down. So we've seen a lot that's gone on in court. We went back up for court thinking we were continuing with a motion hearing. Corporal Hancock was there ready to get on the stand, and then they wanted to confer. I had seen Hancock and Carrie Morrissey, Alex Spiro, and Heather LeBlanc, the local counsel, out in the hallway, all kind of huddling together. Then they were up at a sidebar. Alec Baldwin left with his lawyers to talk with them for a few minutes. Halyna Baldwin then went out in the hallway. There were some hugs when they came back in the hallway between Halyna Baldwin and Alec Baldwin. Now we're on a recess for the next 5 minutes. John, what on earth do you think is going on? Are they working out a deal? Are they arguing about some things? It's all been done up at sidebars and in private. We're not hearing it.
Right. I wish we knew. It's possible they're working out some kind of a last-minute deal that's favorable to both sides. I mean, that does happen. I think it's a little unlikely, but it's certainly a possibility. You know, there have been so many contentious issues with these, with the counsel on both sides that we don't know. For some reason, they don't want the court to hear that. They don't want this to be broadcast publicly.
Neither side, it appears.
Right. No. And so, but at the end of the day, we don't know.
Yeah, we really don't know. It's all speculation. But, you know, it seemed like Halyna Baldwin and me trying to read the body language, she was kind of giving him a reassuring pat at one time, like it, you know, like a go get him kind of type pat on the back from what I could see. So we're all kind of just trying to read the tea leaves here, the body language. How big of a deal is what happened this morning? How big of a deal is this with the 4 rounds that were turned in by Troy Teske after Hannah Gutierrez-Reed's conviction? There's a report written, put under a different case number, not turned over to the prosecution, not turned over to the defense. How big of a deal is this? Because you look at those rounds and they do look distinctly different from the ammunition that was supposedly the ammunition that killed Halyna Hutchins.
Right. Well, again, this has been a theme throughout this, the fighting between the defense and the prosecution over discovery. The defense has made so many allegations about discovery violations. And they have to do that. That's their job. And they have a good faith basis for doing that. In this particular case, they want the jury to have as much information about Seth Kenney as they can. They want to point the finger.
Right.
They want to establish that Alec Baldwin is so far removed from what actually was taking place when he's just simply the guy holding the gun, filming the scene, and all these other things were taking place at a different level. They want the jury to have so much doubt. They're just trying to build the building blocks for their closing argument.
What's interesting to me, though, is the fact that Seth, they knew about this. The defense knew about this somehow because they brought it up on cross-examination yesterday. But they say the issue is the lack of disclosure, and the judge said that too. The fact that the prosecution did not turn this over to the defense, although they found out about it ultimately because they have all of these people on board, and I'm sure they hear all kinds of things about the case. So I guess they want to point the finger at Seth Kenney, and he is one of their villains, the defense's villains in this case. But Alec Baldwin still was the man with the gun in his hand.
Well, and that's going to be the ultimate issue. Will the jurors believe the prosecution's theory that Alec Baldwin is the guy who was ultimately responsible for looking into that gun, looking in the cylinder, looking to see what was in that .45 revolver and checking each round? Now, is the jury going to believe that? Is there enough to convince them to go into that area where the defense has been, it wasn't his job, and the person whose job it was is doing time?
Thank you, John. All right. So that's it for now from Santa Fe. Michael, I'm going to toss it back to you.
All right. Good job, Anjanette and Mr. Daly. Appreciate the insight. Anjanette, keep your track shoes on. I got to get you in and out of that courthouse as this day continues to develop. Thank you so much. Okay, we're gonna take a quick break. When we come back, they perhaps will be queued up after their break for testimony in the motion to dismiss hearing, which has derailed the jury for the day. They're done for the week. They'll be back Monday, and we'll be back right after this.